Hi guys, this is Simeon from Swedish Homestead. Today we are having a major windstorm on the coast. It might reach hurricane strength, but here where we live more on the inland, it's not as bad, but it's still quite windy. I expect a few trees to blow down. But that's not what the video is going to be about today. I want to show you what you have to think about and what you have to do to raise your chicks with a low death rate and a good start in life. Let's go. I'm gonna have a lot of wind noise on my camera here, and as you can see, we get a lot of wind gusts. It doesn't look so bad right now, but it has started to snow, and this is wet snow. So if this gets worse, you see down there the trees are just bending over and blowing. I expect quite a few trees to go down, and before the school bus comes, I will actually go and check that the path is clear, load up my chainsaw. Anyway, let's go to the chick stable. There we are. Hi. How are you guys doing? So here you have a breast chick. In the States it's called American breast. We are calling them Le Bleu. And they are a wonderful breed that grows very fast. And they're good layers and good, they have a good growth. The other breed you see there are Bielefelder chicks, and they're also growing very fast. They get their feathers really fast. These chicks were hatched the 28th of December. So they are about 2 weeks old now. Okay, so here I am. I hope you guys are not bothered by the cheeping of the chicks. But I want to just walk you through the major things that we do to give our chicks a good start in life, to keep them healthy, and to prevent sickness and some other bad stuff. So when chicks hatch, right before they hatch, they have used up all the yolk, and they've used up all the egg white to grow into a chick. And the little skin, the little sac that's around the yolk, they suck into their intestines right before they hatch, and off of that they can feed for 48 hours easily. So they don't need water, and they don't need chicken feed right away. And that's why you even can ship chicks, for example, even though it still could be a little stressful for them. But that is very important to know, that when you bring the chicks, you let them dry in the hatching machine, and when you bring them into the brooder house, or into the brooder, depends on, most people won't have a whole house probably, that you don't have to worry about the water and the feed right away. That is not your major concern in the beginning. What's most important is that they have the right temperature and the right kind of environment to be in. And so let me start off with that. We raise our chicks on a deep bedding, like all of our chickens walk on in the winter time, but it's especially important with the chicks. First of all, it insulates, it gives them a really, really warm ground underneath, and when their whole manure has been mixed in there and it has started to compost and to burn, it also produces heat on a big surface for the chicks, which helps them and which they love. The next thing is that once you start, obviously you have raw material, but over time, as the manure mixes in, and for every new batch of chicks we turn this deep bedding, and it starts to build bacteria, it starts to build fungi and all that stuff, which is really, really healthy for the immune system for the chicks. So we never take out the old bedding until it's all the way composted, but we keep it in there, we mix it up for a new batch, and then we put a new thin layer of raw material on there. Which material do we use? Our big chickens walk on wood chips. We don't use hay or straw. I've talked about this in the compost ingredient video. I'll link it right here. We use wood chips and sawdust for the big chickens because they can kick that quite easily. The chicks obviously can big chunks of wood chips, so what we use for them is wood shavings, and it works great. And we have this old bedding, and then when the chicks come in, we put a thin layer of fresh wood shavings on there. It's very warm, it insulates, and these little shavings, the chicks can just kick them around. There's a risk if you have too little wood shavings, if they're too small, or if you have sawdust, that the chicks actually eat that and it soaks up the liquids in their stomachs, and it's not good for the chicks. So wood shavings seem to work really well. So that is really important. Then they need the right temperature. They need pretty much the same temperature as the hatching, which is 37.8 degrees when they come out. And it is really important for you to keep that temperature. Now, as you have seen here behind me, right now we're using a red infrared heat lamp. And I will switch away from that, and I want to explain to you why. We've never used a different light. There's blue light and all of that stuff. From the lights, I believe the red one is the best because it stimulates, it calms them down, but it stimulates them for food, to find feed and all of that. The chicks can actually start pecking on each other with other lights. But we want to get away all the way from that kind of light, and we want to switch to this. These just arrived by mail, and I'm going to switch to this now. And this is a ceramic heater, which basically it creates the heat without the red light or any kind of color of light. So this is 250 watts, and that's what we're going to be using. Now the reason for this is because we want to not have the chicks be active and eat and eat and eat all day long. That is unnatural, that doesn't happen in nature. And we have had batches of chicks where we raise the breasts, the Le Bleu, like we call them. They are such a fast-growing heritage breed that with the kind of feed you buy in the stores today, it is so high in protein, so made for just growth, rapid growth on the bird, that we noticed that the chicks' feet started to deform, and they couldn't catch up and keep up with how fast they were growing. Now, 99% of the time, that is not genetics. It can be genetics that they get their feet crooked or something, but 99% of the time it's not, and it's due to... The easiest fix is to switch out a light heater lamp to ceramic heat, because then they naturally rest at night. Everything has time to recover and catch up. They're active during the normal daylight. It's a natural light, a natural system. So that's very, very important to think about. The next thing we did, and I want to share that with you as well, what you can do, and this helps just to keep them very healthy and to not have deformities on their feet and everything. Brewer's yeast. This is brewer's yeast. It's a perfect byproduct from when they brew beer and stuff. Full packed with vitamins, and if you mix in about 3% of the normal feed with this, that also prevents deformities and gives them a kickstart, really, really healthy. But before I talk about the feed, let me talk about how we start them off. So we've talked about the heat and the bedding. Also, one of my viewers, Gerald from England, he mentioned that because he saw in my video that I didn't have that you should only have round corners in the brooder house. Thank you so much for that tip. We've never had that. I explain real quick why, but I will do that in the future as well in our real brooder house. The reason why you're supposed to have these round corners is so no chicks can get squished anywhere in a corner, and they just spread out more naturally. Now this is especially important if you have a more equal heat all over the place, that they spread out more naturally and press in a corner. Where we have a centered heat lamp, the rest of the stable is fairly cold, they will naturally gather around the lamp and not in the corners. And this is especially important to have these round corners when you have more chicks. The more chicks, the more important this is. So, but I will definitely do this. I looked more into it after your tip, Cheryl. Thank you so much for that. So, that is important. The bedding, the round corners, the heat lamp. Now let's talk about how we start them. I was talking about the 48 hours where they don't need the feed. Well, we put them in here. We put a little organic starter feed on a tray. We put in a little tray like this. I put a little organic starter feed on here. I sprinkle a little bit of the brewer's yeast on here, but before we want them to get to this, I sprinkle sand over here, grit, because that is really what gets the chicks going. They need little rocks and stuff to grind this food up, and that's what we put for the chicks on top. That's the first thing they're gonna eat, and it really gets their whole digestive system going, and we want them to get that into themselves before they get to the feed. And often the grit is a little wet, and then we put a little brewer's yeast on it, and so it sticks to it, so they get it in their system as well. Now that is really important to us. Then the feed, basically I already said that we feed them some organic starter feed till they are 3 weeks old, I would say, sometimes a month, and then we slowly adjust them to the normal feed that the other chickens have. So those are the most important factors. I would like to say another thing which we do is we move the heat further away from the chickens as time proceeds, just to make them more hardy. In the beginning, also the water and the food is quite close to the chickens, to the chicks, so they don't have to walk out of the heat too much. But then as time goes, we move that further away and we lift up the heat more, so they get more hardy. In the springtime, when we want them into the chicken tractors out on pasture ASAP, we actually do it in a way that after 3 weeks they can go without heat, and they can actually handle freezing temperatures outside in the chicken tractor. It's just a matter of slowly reducing the heat, and they'll get hardy, they keep each other warm. The last thing I want to talk about with you guys is the water. Now the water is key in this. Chicks are very, very sensitive to dirty water. And you saw in here, this is not our brooder house. This is just because I had to switch around. We have chickens walk, big chickens walk in the brooder house right now. So big bummer. I had to just put this together, put a deep bedding in here real fast, and I couldn't use the equipment we normally use, but we normally use a nipple waterer for the chicks because it stays clean all the time, and that is major important for the chicks, because the little waterer, they kick sawdust in there, they go and add their manure in there, and you just keep cleaning it all the time, but it's still dirty, chicks will die. A nipple waterer is probably the #1 thing besides the deep bedding that will decrease your death rate among your chicks. Now, this is the one, I want to show you this real quick, that we built. We just used the PVC piping, drilled some holes in it, and then I ordered these water nipples. I fill water in here, I put some bands around here, and I can just adjust it in height. And here you see the nipples, that's where the water comes out, and this is what the chicks get their water from. It always stays clean in the pipe. I can just refill it real easily here, and I can really adjust the height where I want it to be. So that is the most important thing that you have to think about. I also just want to say real quick that in the description below I will link the products that we use, like the water nipples and the maybe the feeders and stuff. There are lots of other links of tools and stuff we use. It's just convenient for you. You can click on it and go shopping on Amazon. It's an affiliate link, which means we get a small commission. No extra charge for you whatsoever. It's just easier for you to find the products if you found them interesting. I hope you appreciate that as well. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you enjoyed this. It gave you some tips. If you have some tips on things that you think I could implement, if you want to share that with me, please leave a comment below. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't. Thank you so much for engaging and for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.